everyone. Happy Thursday.
How's everyone doing this week?
Doing good, my man. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. The weather's turning nice. It's like 86 out today. The weather's supposed to be a little bit cooler tomorrow, which is great because we're putting together our vegetable garden tomorrow.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, it's been raining here the last 2 days, so it's all gray and miserable. Like, nah, I'm staying inside, thanks. So, want to say hello, Abdul? Yes, first as usual, my man. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, and Rosalind, how you doing, dear? The end. Dun, 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 dun. It's never the end, just until next time. Because remember, this is just season 1, guys. Who knows how long we're going to go? That's going to be up to you, but we'll chat about that a little bit later. So, Cyril, man, we've got that rule of solvency says, even when the streets are running red with blood, that's an opportunity. Is there any rule of solvency about tidal waves of blood? Because that's what we're seeing right now, buddy. This is a tsunami.
Yeah, the market's definitely not thrilled, but it's a direct result of everything that's been going on on a global scale and on a national scale. They came out with the report on Wednesday, showing that GDP growth had slowed significantly more than they thought. Inflation's not going down. So we've entered what's called stagflation, stagnant inflation, where the economy is stagnating, but inflation is still continuing. And that's it's very difficult pain point to be in. And the reason why things then kind of turned around later last night and pulled back up a little bit today was due to some of the remarks that the Federal Reserve made, saying that they're going to ease up on their quantitative tightening, meaning they're going to stop dumping their bag, so to speak. So the market reacted positively towards that, and we got a little bit of a pullback after the murder that we had on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's definitely looking unpleasant, and they're even talking about unemployment rates are rising, and there's been rumors of recession. And I even read one article compared where we're at here in the U.S. to what China was in a little while ago. They're saying it's that bad. Now, is that just fear mongering, or is it really that bad?
The national average poverty, adjusting for inflation, is actually worse right now than it was during the Great Depression. So do with that what you will.
Okay. And on a happier note,
we're already in recession, man. It's just the nation's in denial, right? The media is in denial. They're like, look at this. You just the other day, I forget which politician it was, but they were talking about how the economy's doing well, things are going up, home values are increasing, wages are increasing, like all this stuff, and I'm like, what kind of disconnected reality do you exist in, sir?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, are you talking about our country, or is that the neighbor? Because that doesn't sound right at all.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely been crazy. But now, Cyril, we talked about this, 3-4 months ago. We talked about a pullback. We talked about the levels we were expecting to hit. Now, if you guys remember, I want you to set the Wayback Machine to 3-4 months ago when Bitcoin started pumping. A lot of us were like, oh man, I should have gotten more. Now it's going to the moon. I missed out. And I wish it was at a better price. Guess what? It's at a better price. What are you doing about it? Right. You're getting your wish. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look like you expect. It's not rainbow and sunshine. It's blood in the streets, but that's an opportunity. So are you taking advantage of it? Let me know in the chat. I'd love to hear how you are capitalizing on this pullback.
Yeah. And I know that I'm watching it. I'm waiting. I believe, what was it? Last week we were looking at the Bitcoin chart, and I had drawn out 2 potential possibilities for it, a blue one and a red one. I can't remember if that was last rags to riches or the one before that. I know it was on the 26th, so that would have been
last one.
Yeah, I guess that was the last one. That's
last
right.
week. Yeah. There we go.
But you can see where my line started right here, right? And I drew out 2 potential possibilities for where we would wind up going, whether or not the MA100 held or whether it didn't. blue line would have been if it held. Red line is if it doesn't, right? And I'd been talking about 58K and 52K as being potential pullback regions for Bitcoin for a while now. The blue scenario would have been our 58K touch, right? Would have been right here at 58.8K, bouncing off of the MA100. 52K is this region right here, which would have been having us test the MA200, right?
Right.
And if you don't remember what all of these mean, we talked about them on previous episodes, but they're good general indicators of how to determine like moving support and resistance zones. They are lagging indicators, so you got to remember that. But they show you the average of what it's been doing. So you can kind of predict where the support and resistance zones might be located for you on a dynamic basis instead of just flat like lines that you mark your chart up with.
Nice. So yeah, we've already called this, and just like we said months ago, this is going to happen. And so this is that opportunity. So what are you doing about it? That's what I really want to know. But now, as a lot of you know, this is our season finale. We've been running for 52 weeks, minus our vacation week. And we're going to take a hiatus. We're going to recouple, we're going to regroup, and we're going to come back even stronger, better, and with some interesting things going. But we wanted to drop some serious thought process, some real meat that you can sink your teeth into on this one. So, Cyril, I know you really have been dying to get into the scam that is DeFi, essentially. I mean, putting it simply.
Yeah. And, you know, just a disclaimer, there's always going to be the rare exceptions to what we're about to talk about, right? There's always an outlier. This doesn't factor that, right? You know, I'm not talking about the outliers, the rare oddities that are actually there to try to do something, right? I'm talking about the other 98.8%, right? So don't be in here in the comments raging at me in Discord, be like, oh well, you know, this project I'm in is you know, the leaders are great, blah blah blah. But also don't make the mistake of thinking that you're in one of those projects that's an outlier.
Right.
So let's talk about the dark of DeFi, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about let's peel back that curtain and talk about all the different ways that DeFi protocols exist to take your money. To do that, let's roll things back a little bit and start with some basic foundations, right? I'm going to throw out a statistic. As of last year, 86% of the volume in DeFi and crypto was bots, arbitrage bots. Okay. Now, I know we've talked a little bit about this before, but we're going to go a little more in depth now. When you have liquidity pools, let's say you've got ETH and it's paired to Bitcoin, you know, wrapped ETH, wrapped Bitcoin, they're sitting together in a pool and you can trade back and forth between them utilizing that liquidity. Then you have another pool where it's ETH paired to Matic, and then another pool where it's Matic paired to Sol, right? And so on and so forth across the 10,000, 100,000 different liquidity pools that are out there. Anytime someone says, okay, I want to take my ETH and I want to convert it to Bitcoin, right? That's going, there's a single LP for that, your ETH and your Bitcoin on that particular network, on that particular exchange, and you're going to make that swap, which is then going to change the ratio of the two, right? Now you've got more ETH in there, less Bitcoin, because you swapped your ETH for Bitcoin. The arbitrage bots then have to go through all of the other liquidity pools and balance them to make them match the appropriate ratio. So just because one person decides they want to swap something to something else, thousands, tons of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other liquidity pools then have to be balanced, right? 1 second. Bright lights shining in my face. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So what winds up happening is those bots are then performing all those balancing transactions and moving all this money around in DeFi. And who benefits from that? The exchanges and anybody who's providing that liquidity, because they're earning a little slice of the fees. Just as an example, yesterday, Uniswap made $260,000 just off of their ETH USDC pool. There's a lot of money in charging for transactions, right? So you've got your main cryptos, right? You've got that exist on their own network, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon, kind of, because it's built on top of Ethereum. So are all the other L2s. So realistically, you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like XRP, XLM, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, et cetera, right? They're all on their own network and they're not built on top of each other. If you're looking at just capturing like more long-term stable growth over time, then those are what you should be staying in, right? Predominantly ones like Bitcoin and Ethereum, because everyone has to go through those first to get the DeFi. All right, so we've discussed how the majority of the volume in DeFi is bot volume. One very common company that a lot of these protocols and exchanges use is called Gotbit. And it was founded by a Russian gentleman named Alexei. I am going to botch this last name, but it's Andreyunin. Or Andre Union. I don't remember. It's, you know what? I'm just going to type it right here in the comments and let y'all figure out how to pronounce it. Perfect. He started Gotbit as a company to do what's known as essentially wash trading, where let's say you're a DeFi protocol and you want to get listed on CoinMarketCap. CoinMarketCap has some very serious, strict requirements, unless you're paying a bunch of money through the back door to get listed on there, which is a whole other scammy side business we're not even going to talk about. But in order to get listed on CoinMarketCap, you need to first be trading on some secondary exchanges, like some actual exchanges. And they have volume requirements, right? They want to see... I forget what the exact requirement is, but I believe it's over 100,000 a day for a period of 7 days minimum in order to meet the volume requirements to be listed on CoinMarketCap. So along comes Alexei with his Gotbit platform that charges these protocols $6,000, or at least that's what it used to be, to then institute buying and selling transactions, right? So you get listed, the exchanges require you to use what's called a market maker. That's essentially that. It's companies like Gotbit, where they then deploy algorithmic scripting onto your token pair, and it performs tons of little buys and sells within that bid-ask range, right? So it's not really costing them anything, it's costing the protocol money. They give them that money, they trade with it, yada, 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 keeps volume flowing, right? Lets them meet the requirements to be listed on CoinMarketCap, because they don't actually have enough interest to receive that kind of volume on their own, right? And so they pay other people to provide that fake volume for them, to get listed, to show the growth, to hit that trending, to hit that number one, whatever, right? But it's all hot air. And these companies are making money hand over fist doing that. The exchanges are making money hand over fist, charging that little 0.35% on each transaction, right? The people providing the liquidity, they get 0.25% of that, and the exchange gets 0.15, you know, but that 0.15 adds up when you're getting like 280 million in volume on a pair. The deeper the liquidity pool, the more volume they'll get on it, because the larger the flash loan transactions from the bots need to be to balance the pairs, right? Because there's more money. So it takes more money coming in and out to move the price. So, but I'm going to pause there for a second, just in case you have anything you wanted to.
So far, no, I totally agree. It's amazing what really happens on there, and a lot of people don't realize that that's going on, and we see it all the time. It's one of those where you borrow $5 from Peter to go over and give Mary $2 so she can buy a soda, and you take that soda and you sell it to Bob over here, and he switches for a pack of cigarettes. You send over here to Tom, and Tom, yeah. That's the way it works. It's insane. It's just money moving around in a circle. And we've talked about that time and time again. It's the evolving circle of money. And that's why a lot of us, content creators, a lot of people in the space ask, what is the utility outside of that sealed ecosystem? We talked about that in the last episode, is when money is in a sealed ecosystem with multiple coins, it's just going from coin to coin to coin to coin. It's not doing nothing. It's spinning around. People throw some money in once in a while and other people take money out. That's it. But who's making the money? Everybody who's a part of that movement, whether it be arbitrage traders, it'd be the team, it'd be the dexes. They're the ones making the bank. We have to be smarter than them to make any kind of profits. And even then, it's really tough.
Yeah, and DeFi is not set up in a way to be very forgiving to someone who does not have a lot of money, right? Like, how many times have you wound up in a situation where you're invested and the chart does a pullback and everyone's like, oh, time to DCA so that when it does pop up, I'll be able to actually get out with profit. And you're like, DCA with what? Right?
Exactly.
It's set up to be very punishing for people who don't have a lot of money to work with, right? And it's like that old adage, it takes money to make money. It's this, and that's where DeFi projects come in. They don't have a lot of money themselves, right? So they bootstrap it off of the backs of their users. Then they make the liquidity pools on the exchanges or whatever, or they make their own exchange. So they get all the fees, right? And then they're giving useless rewards instead. And we'll dive into that here in a second. But every single protocol out there, again, this is within your not factoring the outliers before you start screaming at me. But the protocols out there in DeFi, their whole goal is to crowdfund a stack of money that they can then get arbitrage bots to balance and charge them a fee for. That's why every protocol out there you see launching some kind of DEX, whether it's a perps DEX or an exchange or a platform or blah, 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 right? They're all doing the same thing because that's the only thing in DeFi that actually creates revenue, is charging other people transaction fees. That's it, okay? Once you start going out to real world asset and that kind of thing, DeFi projects are going to face a whole new slew of roadblocks, right? Like, a DeFi protocol does not have the necessary business structure to actually own real world assets and to properly report to the right agencies. If you're going to have a protocol that has real world asset revenue and users are buying, whether it's NFTs or tokens or whatnot, it's technically considered an unregistered security, right? Which means there's no way that they can be doing this legally, right? So what does that tell you? Use your brain. What's it tell you? What are they actually doing?
Got somebody in the chat. Let's hear it.
Not that, right?
Yeah, nothing illegal. And that's what we're seeing is the lawsuit, the SEC and all that. They're trying to put a cap on this because it's insane. It's out of control. And the sad part is they're going after these big people to make a statement. Like, okay, so now everything that operates on the Ethereum, well, that's a security now. So everybody's secure. It's like, yeah, it's gotten crazy. But at the same time, there's some real threats out there in the DeFi space that, yeah, the SEC is absolutely valid saying that's a security. What are you guys doing? That's totally illegal. And they're getting by with it because they're so little. They're like, they're not going to bother me. I'm just a nickel dime kind of thief. I'm not the $1 billion thief.
And that works until it doesn't, right? Like that's the honest truth of it. Like, you can have a protocol that is utilizing real world assets or bot trading or whatever it might be. Yeah, even the protocols that are like, oh, we've got a trading bot. is an unregistered security. They cannot legally be selling or having you invest in that, especially if you're from the US, just so you know. And when it does catch up with them, and it will at some point, the protocol will go poof, and you'll get nothing, right? And one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of lately is that, oh, we'll start payouts in a year or 2 years. We're going to let it compound for a while first. Like, that's just kicking the can down the road, getting everybody to be okay with not receiving anything, right? So that at that point, like, when things do go south, you're already used to not getting anything, right?
Right. And, that's just like we've talked time and time again about locked stake. You put in your funds and they're locked. That's exactly what they're doing. They're like, hey, we're going to make a whole bunch of money. And when we get enough money, we might let you start taking out little pieces at a time at a rate in which we say you can do it. Like, wait a minute. That's why I got away from the central bank. So I didn't have to deal with that kind of crap. But a lot of DeFi projects are playing that game. And so we've tried to tell you since the beginning of this journey, locked stakes are a very scary event. We even had one in our portfolio that proved it. It actually bled to death, and we can never fully withdraw the entire amount. It's insane.
Nope. And that's the nature of it. And
right.
One of the things that I keep trying to impress upon people is the more complex the ecosystem seems, the more obfuscated the ways they're taking your money will be. Right? So the harder you're going to have to look for it. Let's talk about one of the really big popular ones that's been popular over the last year and is going to be popular this upcoming year as well. The VE33 concentrated liquidity dexes, right? I know that V33 is not a new thing, or VE33, vote escrow, is what that stands for, by the way. It's not new. It's been around for about 2-3 years now. Ohm popularized it, right?
Yeah.
But the new thing is the concentrated liquidity ones. And they'll tell you about how, $1 in concentrated liquidity has the earning power of $25 in V2 LPs. And while that is true, doesn't mean you're the one who's going to see it. And let's talk about why. Yeah. So this is the VE33 concentrated liquidity DEX scam. Users, you, me, we deposit liquidity. Our Ethereum, our WMatic, we deposit it and we earn rewards. Usually those APRs and APYs are nice and high, like 100-something%, maybe 80%, something, what have you. There's some that I've seen, they have stable coins at 30%. Like that, no. Anywho, so you apply the liquidity. They're bootstrapping those deep pools, right? You earn something called an O token, whether it's like O Kier or O Serenity. Like they throw this little O in front of the token name, and what that stands for is option. Okay, that essentially think of it as a call option. You are not being paid 80 to whatever percent APR, APY in actual money. You are being paid that in the option to spend more money. Okay. So what O tokens do for you is you can take additional money, whichever their protocol is using. A lot of times it's USDC. Some of them use their own stable coin or whatever, but you have the option to take additional money and your rewards and pair that money. Well, kind of. You basically give them that money, and then you're able to exchange the O tokens for their actual token that you could then sell at a discount, right? It's a call option that gives you the right to buy their tokens at a cheaper price. Does it have any intrinsic worth in and of its own? Absolutely not, right? So you're getting hot air. You're getting permission to spend more of your money to make a small percentage difference, which a lot of these protocols, if you look at their token, because it emits, it inflates. What does inflation do? But like you'll see the chart, it'll start off going up and then it will just slowly keep going down forever overall, right? Because it's emitting more. People want to earn for supplying their liquidity, so they're going to sell the rewards that they get, right? Meanwhile, the protocol is keeping the fees generated, right? The fees that you would be earning normally for supplying liquidity to concentrated liquidity pairs, you would be earning fees for that. The protocol keeps it, right? And then they earmark a percentage of all the fees that users would have received, and they distribute them to, well, sort of. They put them as rewards for voting on the different liquidity pools. And so if you have the O token, you have the option to then lock it for 2 years to get the VE NFT, right? Now, if you have the VE NFT, you then get to vote for the different LPs on their platform to determine how much of the O token they're going to give it that go around, right? So you deposit liquidity, you get an O token, which you can then lock for 2 years to get an NFT to vote for the pools that you have liquidity on so that you can get more O token. And in exchange for voting on those pools, you get to earn from a percentage of what you would have normally.
I'm already dizzy.
Is that like complex? Yes.
Right.
Take your money? Absolutely. The only people who win out on those are the ones who get in right at the beginning, get a bunch of the VE NFTs, and then soak up as much of the actual liquidity pair revenue as possible using their VE NFTs to soak up the money that would go to bribe people to vote for it, right?
Exactly. And, we've seen this time and time again, and, they call it something different. They have great little things of animals or beers or witchcraft. I mean, I've seen a ton of them in the last bull market. It was insane. They were everywhere. It's like, oh, we're going to make this one off witches, and this one's off dragons, and this one's off bears and penguins. But it's the same damn game. And yeah, it's one of those, you put it in, and it's like this hull of mirrors. You can't get your money out. It's lost somewhere in the mirrors. And if you do get some out, it's probably going to be a fraction of what you put in. And probably a small fraction, believe it or not. Unless you were like one of the very first one in the door, yeah, you're pretty well toast.
Absolutely. My first experience with a VE33 concentrated liquidity DEX, one of the staff reached out and said, hey, like, this is what we're doing currently. This is how much these are earning a week, blah, 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 blah. Would you like to buy over the counter directly from us some of the VE NFTs? Skip the whole process of supplying liquidity, getting O token, and then locking it. Skip straight to the VE NFTs. And I was like, all right, sure, I'll try it out. So we got 20% over what we spent value-wise, right? Nice little discount for buying the VE NFT since they're locked for 2 years, right?
Right.
And we started earning first week $300 that week, right? Not bad. It was 3% of what we spent. That's a good weekly earning. Then the following week was like 260. Week after that was like 200. Then it was like 180. Then it was 100. Then it was 70. Last week was 42. And the value of what we put in, it's now about 28% of what it was. And certainly haven't recovered that much. And it's just the nature of how it's all set up, how it's all structured, right? Like, unless you're consistently farming more of the O token and spending more money to buy it at a slight discount, at some point that's no longer profitable for you because the value of what you held decreased so much because their token emits and inflates, right?
Right. And that makes for a vicious cycle. And that's one thing, it goes hand in hand with the rebase concept. The whole thing of, you put in 100 tokens and then we drip out more over time. Well, anytime you're going to emit tokens or create more, if there's not a cap, a cutoff, that means the value has to go down. It simply cannot go up. There's just no way mathematically it can accomplish that task. So anything that's going to give you more tokens, or it's not a capped amount, yeah, it's going to bleed to death. It's just a fact.
Yep. If it's emitting, it's gonna go down in price eventually, right? Because that's just the nature of it. We're seeing it happen with the US dollar, and there's plenty of demand on that, so what makes you think demand on a DeFi protocol is going to outpace their inflationary mechanism? Eventually it won't. Just like it didn't for the dollar, at some point demand falls off and the inflation overtakes it. And you've got other protocols that take that whole bootstrapping of a treasury, right? That's their deep liquidity pool that they bootstrap off the backs of users that they can then go farm with, earn enough money to pay their staff nice cushy salaries for however long they want, because it's money that's farming, it's money that's earning, and they give you a little crumb of it. They take a percentage of it and say, oh, if you stake your tokens, we'll distribute this out to everybody, right? Okay, so you're supposed to be happy that they made all of this money off the backs of the taxes or whatever from users, right? And then they're farming with it, but they're not actually using it to grow the protocol.
There you go. And we see that time and time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it doesn't actually help the users in the long run because, again...
And we see that all the time. It's like, hey, come buy this NFT, and we're going to pay you out 1% per week or whatever, and you'll ROI in so many days. And that's a big term we've got to talk about here, guys. ROI. Now, for those who don't know, that means return on investment. Now, let me ask you this. If you loan somebody $100 and your ROI is when they give you that $100 back, but that's a friendly deal. You go to a bank, you borrow $100, you don't ROI, you don't give them back $100 and we're cool. No, you give them back $127.32. Now we're cool. So I've got to ask, why is everybody talking about ROI? That just means you've broken even. You haven't made anything, and that could be weeks, months, years, or never. So why do we get so excited about ROI?
Well, ROI, your return on investment, is going to be what you get back in addition to your investment, right? So so it's not the break even.
Mm-mm. Okay, my bad.
If you just get back your money, then you didn't get a return, right? You just got your money.
Right. But that's how they describe it in a lot of these protocols is you'll ROI in this amount of time, meaning you break even. So they're actually using the terminology wrong in most of these DeFi projects you're saying.
Yes. If you're not getting additional back, then you're not getting a return on it. They try to say that means your investment is returning to you, right? But no, actual ROI is profit over investment, right? Not your investment. If I loan you $100 and you give me $100 back, then that was just a short-term loan, right? And that I didn't charge any interest on. I didn't get any ROI off of. The only benefit I got out of it was now you're going to come to me to ask to borrow money again, right? So
pretty much.
But never set that precedent. That's why it's one of the rules of solvency to never help somebody with money. If you're going to give someone money to help them out, it is a gift, not a loan, right? Never loan someone money that you're not willing to straight up lose. And be very selective with doing that, right? Help with your time, help with your knowledge, do not help with your money, because that sets a precedent, right? Obviously, again, there's outlier situations, right? Like I've helped people out with money before too, but just in general, it's a good practice not to.
Yep. And John, I remember you, John. 100 days. I married that project, and we talked about that time and time again. It's one of the DeFi projects I was so committed to. I was fairly new in the space, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. Let's get married. And I was all about 100 days, and it turned out that, everything went sideways. It ended up a scam, and everybody got wrecked. So I learned the lesson the hard way. And, that's one thing we're trying to help you on this journey, guys, is not to learn the lessons that we did. I'm much better at learning these hard lessons than Cyril. He's smarter than I am. But that brings about another thought here, Cyril, is the DeFi world is very tempting, tantalizing. They're talking about big percentage, big gains. And when you come from a lower income or a family that's not experienced in the financial world, it is very easy to fall prey to some of these flashy white papers and these huge percentages like, oh my God, I could turn $10 into $1 million. It's going to be great. And make no mistake, these people are good at this game. That's probably why they survived. Now, you'll see the bad ones later, and you'll kind of point and laugh like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. But some of these guys are very, very good at this game, and they keep coming back every cycle.
Yep, there's actually something, there's something that I'm witnessing a resurgence in that I thought for sure the fad had died about 3 years ago. It lasted for about 8 months. So it was like, yeah, within the last like 2 years is when it finally died off. But there were all these platforms that would pop up where you could take your money, you could lock it for a certain little bit of time, right? Whether it's 12 hours, 24 hours, or a week, right? Like they would have these different time increments. And if you lock your money in, it goes to their trading bot, whatever, it trades it, and then you get a percentage return. And they show you the percentages that you'll get and all this sort of stuff if you lock it. You lock it, you start off with the small one because you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to, test my feet on this. You put in $50, you get back 58. You're like, oh, okay, let me do it again. This time with $100. You do a slightly longer time lock. You put in $100, you get back $200, right? And you're like, sweet, I'm going to put in $1,000. And then the whole thing just poof disappears, right? Like the whole platform just disappears. There about 2 to 3 years ago, there was a whole slew of these platforms, and when one would disappear, the next one would pop up almost immediately afterwards, and it would be like, oh, did you miss out on this one before it imploded, or the bot killed all the funds, or whatever excuse it was? Get into this one. I'm seeing a resurgence of that. And I'm seeing platforms like that pop up again. But this time it's with a different narrative. Before, it was with just like the straight like crypto trading bots or the gold trading bots or things like that. Now it's all AI trading, right? That's the narrative. That's what everyone's all hot and bothered about, is AI this, AI that, right? And so they feed off of the narrative, they feed off of what's popular, and they're just reskinning the same shit that they got you with last time, right? And there's a ton of that coming up. And DeFi typically moves in cycles, because what happens once everybody winds up losing all their money, they leave, right? Only the few who either make money and stick in the space, or people who are holding on for dear life because at this point they're so far down they don't know what else to do, remember any of the bull crap from the previous times, right?
Exactly.
So DeFi has a memory span, and that memory span is about 2.5 years. And so if you want to know what's going to be coming up next as far as like all that kind of nonsense, you just got to look back 2-3 years ago. What were the popular projects? Find one of those older, veterans of the space and say, hey, what were the things that were popular 3 years ago? What should we be watching out for? It's kind of like a base network. One of the reasons why everyone loves base network right now is because they're like 2 years in the past. You bring a protocol or something to the base network that we know does not last, does not work, and will implode, and they will ape into it like crazy because they're new. They're people coming from Coinbase. They're retail traders who don't know better.
Right. And that's one of the biggest things is, Base is part of Coinbase. That's their L2 essentially. And so then you start seeing these big names. And that was one thing we saw a lot towards the end of the last bull market, is you started seeing big name actors pop in, whether they were actual actors or wrestlers. They would stick their name on something. All of a sudden the TVL went through the roof. It was insane. And it could be the worst, most horrible DeFi project on the planet, but because so-and-so promoted it, it's got to be amazing. And this is where you got to be really, really careful. There are so many bad actors out there, but that's the great thing is we've got the experience. And that's why we've got the Down Home Crypto community, because most of the people in there have been around for a while. Now, if you go out to YouTube and you try to look at, DeFi scams of, 2019, good luck. Even the social media is kind of against you because they're going to lose popularity. Therefore, they're not easy to find. And a lot of the content creators who covered that, they took that stuff down. Like, screw that. I'm out of here. I'm not sharing that. Because they don't want somebody to stumble on it. Like, oh, well, let me go put some money in this because it's really low right now. Realizing that, hey, that project died a year ago. So it's really tough to find that information out. But yeah, Cyril, I see what you're saying because I've seen a few DeFi projects start popping up with this same game. I had one show up on my phone earlier today, baked beans, recycled, or something like that. I'm like, are you serious? Again? No, we're not playing this game. And yeah, John, I feel you, buddy. Man, I went through and I learned the hard way. There it is. Literally 8 different projects. Yeah, same thing. And Cyril, you said something really interesting. And you're right. Most people in the space, either they made a little bit of money, so they know what to expect, or they lost a whole crap load, they don't know what else to do. Then you get a few crazies like myself who decide, hey, you know what? I see potential here if I can learn the game well enough. If I know which ones to just flat avoid and others, okay, if I can be smart enough to get in real quick, get out and call it a day with little tiny bits, be smart and wise, might be able to play the game just a little bit better than the next guy. That's all DeFi is. You're playing against the next guy or the community to get your money out. Because remember, this is a money game. Everybody throws money in the circle, and the first one that blinks, grabs their money and bails, they're probably the one that gets out ahead.
Yep, and I know we talked about the money game on a Freaky Friday episode, but I just want to bullet point that real quick for those who might be joining us new from a certain community where links were shared. Thank you, by the way. So the money game. And at first, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, this seems crazy. Why would I do that? But I would like to invite everybody listening to come play a game called the money game. The rules are very, very simple. You pay a $10 entry fee in order to stand in a circle with everybody else who is also playing the game. The entry fee that everyone pays goes into a pot in the middle. It's a money pile. Your entire net worth is condensed into a stack of $10 bills. Every 5 seconds, you and everybody else must throw in another $10 into another $10 into the pile to keep playing the game. If you also have a stack of black cards next to your stack of net worth, right? If you want to, you can throw in a black card instead of the $10 bill, and you get 10% of all the money in the pile. Anyone can choose to throw in a black card instead of their $10 bill, but no one knows what the next person's going to do until they do it. Would you like to play?
Sure. Let's play a game. I love games.
That is the money game. It's a game of hot potato. You know, that is DeFi. It's all of these different circles of people standing together, chucking money in with a pot that grows in the middle, and people are throwing in black cards every now and then, getting their percentage out. That's crypto, DeFi, it's PvP, right? It's player versus player. If you're throwing in a black card, you're taking money from the other people who are in that circle as well. That's the nature of it. And there's some people who are really good at playing that game. They skip the whole circle part, right? They skip the risk of other people being able to throw in the black card, and they rug the project. They run away with the funds. I've seen some where they had their devs set up the pre-sale for them, made a fake USDC token, and then had that transmitted to the protocol leads to sit in their wallets as the pre-sale funds were coming in, while the actual USDC was being routed to their wallet, right? Like, that's...
It said USDC.
So, and John mentioned something called nodes, right?
Yes.
There was a lot of protocols that ran these things called nodes, or sold these things called nodes, which was basically if you bought a node, you would earn from a percentage of whatever, right? Whether that was traffic on their blockchain or, earnings from their revenue or whatever it was, right? And a lot of these nodes started off being expensive when everybody wanted them because they all thought the project was going to be big, and they would pay out rewards. And then over time, as inflation happens and the token value drops, those rewards become worth less and less and less, until someone who spent $1,000 to get one of these nodes now can't even sell it to someone else for $30 because it'll never ROI for like 4 years. Nobody wants that, right?
Exactly.
I spoke with a protocol lead of a project who shall remain nameless, but at one point in time, I had like a working partnership with them until they stabbed me in the back. And they were building a green blockchain. And one of the guys who runs it, he's an elderly gentleman, a little bit older than you.
I'm elderly?
No, you're under the elderly cutoff. That's why I have to throw the little bit older than you in there.
Okay, right? Thank you.
And he was bragging to me on the call that, oh, dude, a month ago, I didn't even know what nodes were. And now I've sold over $1 million worth of them in the last month.
Yeah. It's scary. And the sad part is, especially when things wind up, we're going to see all this stuff come back. They're going to be rebranded. They're going to take the same turd, polish it up, wrap it in a new label, and give it to you again. They're going to try. And that is where you have to be so careful. And the simple fact is, most DeFi projects you hear about, I don't care what their narrative is. I don't care who's promoting it. I don't care how shiny and amazing it is, cutting edge technology. 98% of them are going to die. They will not be here in the next cycle. So 4 years from today, you will not see them, plain and simple. There are a select few that either will suffer through. They might bleed down to almost nothing and then come back. Some might actually change the world. We don't know. This is an entirely new bull market and an entirely new environment we're running in. I mean, we've never had ETFs. We've never had crypto considered a store of value from government. So a lot of us don't know what to expect, but what we do know is what has occurred. And we can spot those out a mile away. It's like, nah, that's a scam. I know that game. I played that game. No, ain't playing your game. But be careful, because 90% of these are going to be the same old turd, repolished, rebranded, and pushed out to you again.
Just packaged with a different narrative.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And you see that everywhere, right? And
you do.
I've been seeing a lot of individuals go through who maybe they feel that they have a good idea, and so they go and they make a project, and then they realize they're in over their heads, but they don't want to admit that, right? So they just keep pushing out this, we're building, right? We're working on these deals. We're working on these collaborations. We're working to be, we're going to disrupt a $6 billion market because of this partnership, despite the fact that nobody gives a shit about your perp decks because it's trash and you've had to shut it down 3 times already because you didn't even code it. You bought the code from Envato and then restructured it. Yeah, that's another thing. If you're not familiar with it, Code Canyon and Envato is where most DeFi protocols go to get their dApps or their whatever, or their perps decks, or the this or the that, or the any bullshit product that they're giving you. And then they just rebrand it, change the UI a little bit, and that's why there's all the bugs. They don't know how it works. They don't know how to fix it. Oh, we fired that dev team because they delivered garbage code. No, you bought the code for $400 and your dev team doesn't know how to fix it because they didn't write it. That's the truth of the matter.
Exactly. Yeah. They just hire somebody out. They get an idea and they say, if we tweak it just a little bit, I can get a little bit more of the piece of the pie into the team, and we can use this new fuzzy NFT, or we can. Yeah, they're playing the same game time and time again. And we've seen it over and over again. The simple fact is, how many perp decks do you really need out there? I mean, let's think about it. There's hundreds, thousands, and people are going to make new ones, cutting edge technology that's going to change the world. Why? There's 350,000 already out there, and that was just last week alone. Why do we need another one? Really?
Well, the reason why they need another is because then they get to charge people for using it, right? That's the only point. There's API keys that you can hook up to use prepackaged liquidity, right? So like there's companies out there that literally have LP pools and API keys that you can plug in to your XYZ whatever thing that you're setting up that will then allow your systems to route through their LPs, and you can charge an additional bit on top of what they charge, their little fraction of a percentage, and then you can add to that, and then you're earning from that traffic. And that's why the protocols do it, right?
Okay.
They're trying to essentially skip the bootstrap, the deep liquidity phase, right? Because their community's already pissed, already tapped out, already out of money. They can't provide more liquidity. So they go, oh, we'll make a perps DEX because we can just hook that up to someone else's liquidity and earn off of it, off the couple of users that we still have here who might actually still give a crap about it. But nobody else is going to wind up using that perps DEX platform other than that community. And that will slowly dwindle away because guess what? There's no growth, right?
And it's a hard reality, and it's not one that we like to get focused on because there are still good players out there. There are some cutting edge technologies coming out, and as we know, this market is evolving. So please don't think that all of DeFi is absolutely a scam. There's a piece of it, small piece.
There's just outliers.
Exactly, yeah. But that's the thing is, if you back up time 10 years ago, well, the narrative for Bitcoin, well, it's all just a scam. It's fake money. It's crap. Why would anybody do it? So as time evolves, as these cycles come and go, the good ones are going to stand out and they're going to rise above. The important thing is to understand what's good and what's bad. And at the same time, do risk management, do your rules of solvency. Make sure you're prepared and you're only risking what you're willing to lose, because knowing that 98% of these are going to fail, okay? But that 2%, now if you happen to get into those, like if you happen to get into Bitcoin 10 years ago, probably sitting pretty damn good right now if you didn't sell it. Most people probably sold it. But that's the trick, is we don't really know what the absolute good players 10 years from now are going to be. Odds are the way technology is changing, blockchain technology, everything in technology, it's probably something we haven't even seen yet. It probably has to do with quantum computing. It has to be with artificial intelligence, all merged together in a completely new structure we probably haven't even envisioned. Now, I could say that there's a couple projects I'm keeping an eye on that might just be a small stepping stone to that ending. Don't know. Only time will tell. It's things that I like to cover and I like to give information about, but at the same time, you have to decide for yourself. So I always try and say, hey, don't listen to me. Don't listen to that guy. You make your own decision because it's your money you're risking. So be wise.
Absolutely. And speaking of I know that the format for this episode is a little different than our usual. So we're going to be going over the standard hour that we like to keep this to. But in respect for everyone's time, who maybe doesn't have more than an hour, we're going to go ahead and do the wiggle off to see who wins. And, in honor of it being our last season, I will double what the current pot is.
Woohoo! So. Okay. Well, the current pot is $10, unless, of course, I come up, then I take it to 20. So now if I come up, we take it to 20, and then somebody wins it, that means you'd get 40. This could be huge. So first of all, before we do that, actually, words are hard today. So I will work on that. I'm going to share my screen real quick because I want you guys to know one of our community members, Cheetos, an amazing man, is absolutely working hard to take our Discord to the next level. And I give him free reign. He's just going to go nuts. What happens? I don't know. We'll find out. But one thing we're noticing is a lot of people, we're getting these accounts where people don't go in, they don't comment, they don't do anything, but yet they enter the votes. So I've got these 5 players here, okay? I had to decipher them because they never sent a message in Discord. If one of these is you, right now, let me know in the chat. If one of these is legit, I will add it up to the vote, the dancers. If not, they will be staying out because they have never said a single word in the Discord. Now, one thing we're going to do in the next season moving forward is we're going to get rid of the bad actors, not only in DeFi and in your investment strategies, but also in the community. If somebody's trying to game the system, then you're unhealthy to our community and we will absolutely remove you. So Want to keep it fair to the good people. So I want to say thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends about us because we're here for good people. Now, bad people, not so much. So if that was any of you, let me know in the chat down there. And yes, go Cheetos! See, there you go. We're all rooting for you, Cheetos.
Yeah, Cheetos is great.
He is. And, everybody in our community is great. I forgot to pull up the dance screen. My bad. You talk. There it is.
Man, I was sitting here rambling for almost a full hour and you still didn't have it up? Slacking.
I was having fun, man. I was enjoying the conversation because, it gets heated. It gets very interesting. And a lot of people, this is kind of information that most people don't want to hear. They want to hear that, yes, you can take $10 and make $1 million. And you know what? You can. If you're one in the 150 billion or 1,000 people or whatever that gets really, really lucky. I didn't want to say billion. I'll get yelled at. So that many people on the planet, the aliens are playing. I know. There is a chance. It does happen. But man, you've got to have some inside information. You've got to be you got to know something, someone, somewhere is about the only way that's going to happen. Or you have to be the one who creates the projects that are doing this game.
To be one of the people who basically turns that $27 into something several hundred billion on paper that one guy did with PayPay, right? Yeah, you need to be in the know. You have to be in one of the groups of people who goes through and creates these tokens, right? Like that's the thing. We've talked about it before, where there's all these different groups within DeFi that basically run everything. There's the developer groups. They're the ones who code the arbitrage bots, code the new pair snipers, and then they code new pairs to launch and then rug to catch people who bought the snipers from them. And then there's groups that create meme tokens, and that's what they do. They have all these influencers. They go out, they make meme tokens constantly, and if one of them hits, great, they put in $27 and it became worth a couple $100 million, at least on paper.
Exactly. And the biggest thing here is to know how to play the money game correctly. So that's what we're trying to educate you on. But this money game is really simple. All you had to do was go in and vote, and you got put on this list. Now, if you win, then all you have to do is shoot me a DM, and I will have Wild Angels send you your prizes by the end of the weekend, typically. But please understand, she's going to send you whatever she happens to have in her wallet. You don't get to pick and choose, and whatever it is what you get. We've had a couple people say, well, I didn't want it in that form of currency. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to exchange it for you. It's free money. Shut up.
Let's swap it somewhere.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, please understand. We're bootstrapping here. Everything here is all out of our own generosity. It's not like we're getting paid anything to do this per se. So we're going to send you what we got. So I hope you enjoy it. And either way, we're going to have some fun. So make sure, you can't go in and vote this week because there's no show next week. That's right. This is the last wiggle off. Oh my God. That's
why I figured I would double the prize. But for me, you're getting USDC on Arbitrum. And if that's a problem, well, suck it.
Yeah, don't argue about free money. Okay, we ready?
I'm ready, and I'm happy that this one gets to be a dance-off because there's 21 names on that list, and so we get to have our dance-off before as our final one.
I love it. I miss the dances. The wiggles are cool, but man, there's nothing like a good old-fashioned dance-off. So let's rock and roll, baby.
I'm ready.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Who's going to be first to die?
I don't know. Oh! Cheetos, BTK, Alexi. Wow. Sorry, Cheetos. Ooh, Mossman Lady Z.
There went another 4.
Yeah, this is brutal. By the way, Rooster, I'm proud of you. You voted. Good man. Oh, I died. Damn it. I was hoping I'd hold on.
I see Rooster and Rose are still in there.
Yeah, they're hiding on the sides. Got Danfo over there, Rosalind, Amami, Phillips, Castra. Oh, that went with stripped. Yeah, now they're dancing. Amami and Phillips. Okay, they're neck and neck. Who's it gonna be? Phillips! Woohoo! Congrats, Phillips.
Well done. You have survived.
Yes. So shoot me a DM, and I will make sure that Wild Angel gets your winnings, and I will pass that information to Cyril, so he will send you your other half. So we'll be sending you $10, and Cyril's gonna be sending you $10. Just say thank you guys for being a part of this great community and casting your vote, because you helped guide this entire journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we start diving into some like side stuff, let's take a look and see how the portfolio is doing.
Yes, please, let's do.
All right. And for those who may be just tuning in for the first time on our final episode, remember, our portfolio is a summation of what users have voted for during this journey. So let's take a look-see. Obviously, the market was a little brutal this week. We started the week with $1,435.35. We ended the week with $1,366.70, or a $68.65 loss, also known as a 5.02% decline. And our total portfolio is up 14.11%.
So even with all the blood in the streets, our portfolio is still ahead of the game.
Correct. And that is why we've been doing the DCA weekly. And as you can see, we've been growing nicely, and now we're kind of moving with the markets. The bulk of our holdings are in those blue chips, right? Which is on one of these tabs. There we go. So because I've been sitting here waiting, right? I mean, because I've been talking about 58K and 52K as being regions for a while now. The last couple weeks, I haven't allocated anything yet. I've been letting the market come down. I've been putting it in as USDC. So that's why, while the markets may be down like 10, 12% in the last 24 hours, we are not down that much, despite the fact that last week the markets were doing a good bit better than they were this week.
Right. This is true. Now, that's a great point. And I want to pause on that for a sec for those who are new here. Because we teach you DCA, take the same amount of money every week and invest it. That builds up a pattern of savings, of investing. And so if, like right now, the markets are down, but instead of Cyril saying, nah, we're not putting any money in, we're not going to do anything, he still went through the motions of DCAing, but into a stable coin. Still invested, never stop doing that. Just put it into a different asset until it's a good entry point. And that is a great tip on building your pattern of investing is still put it into the market. Just put it into something you know is safe, like a stable coin or safer.
Yeah, well, if you're using a stable coin, my preferred one of choice is USDC. If it's not an option, then I use USDT. But those are the only two stable coins I would recommend actually using. They have actually all gone through the correct audits necessary. USDT, I absolutely did not used to like, because they were only backed by 2% cash. The rest was like corporate paper, which is debt that's owed to them, right? That's what was backing USDT for the longest time. Absolutely terrifying. USDC, though, because they are the, I forget the exact term, my brain is having a brain block, but they are basically the people in charge of custody for like BlackRock's ETFs with Bitcoin and stuff like that. So they have to meet all of the regulatory requirements, the audits, all of that stuff. They have to meet it. So that's why I like USDC as my stable coin of choice. Plus, I mean, you could just park it in Coinbase and earn 5% annually on your stables, right? I mean, why not? They pay it out in increments each month. So
is that a lock stake where it's going to pay you little pieces, or okay, good.
No lock required. You just dump your cash into the USDC, and at least there it's earning 5% instead of losing value in your bank account.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's one thing people's like, oh, but my savings account is so safe. It's like, yeah, but your money's going down. It's not doing anything. You're actually losing quicker than you're gaining. So yeah,
Yep.
it's a no-win scenario.
Yep. And before we go into that tangent, let's take a look at what everyone voted for as our final purchase before the next season.
You sure you want to? I don't know. I don't know, man. Eesh. Kind of questioning our community voting task on this one, but let's see. What do you guys think? So let's go ahead and share this. And this week, our blue chip is going to be Ethereum. Good choice. I like that. DeFi, the FUD token.
Oh,
yes, the FUD token beat out everything else. Close was low risk. KKF was the next one, but we beat him out by 12 votes.
Oh, okay. So we're actually going to get a DeFi protocol in our portfolio now, because we pretty much got rid of both of the DeFi stuff and put it all into blue chips, essentially, right? Because that's basically what KKF is a basket of blue chips. So now we get to actually have some DeFi stuff in our portfolio. Right.
Now, let me ask you, though, is the FUD token technically a DeFi project, or is that a meme coin? How would you classify that?
So I think it started as a meme coin. You'll have to forgive me. I know I know the background information for it.
Cool.
It was that if you're in the DeFi space, you've probably heard of BroodFi. It's a Discord where a lot of people get together. They do investigative work into other protocols. Stuff like that. Actually, Serenity, I'm going to share an invite link for you if you want to share it. I like the Discord. It's a great place. It's a good spot to like learn. If you're looking for learning, hold on, let me make this a non-expire. Oh, you already posted the link. Aren't you fancy? Did you make sure it didn't expire in 7 days before you? No, you didn't. That's what I was working on doing. And then you had to rush ahead of me. By the way, you're still muted.
Okay, there you go. Sorry, I was looking at the other screen trying to get the invite. Yeah, I totally screwed that one up. Sorry. I was like, all right, I beat him to it. No, I did not. That's still the 7 day. Let me edit that invite link.
It's all good. But the guys over there basically started it kind of as their own meme token, and then decided instead to make it like the requirement where you have to hold a certain amount of that token in order to get first access to like the meme coins that they launch. And so they're basically forming a group that does that meme coin factory stuff, right? So that's why I know about it, because I've been in BroodFi, and I've been given like some lessons and stuff like that over in their FUD token Discord. So yeah, it was interesting to see it pop up here on the votes, and you know, we'll chuck our 20 out of the 25 that we allocate towards the DeFi into that, and we'll see where that goes next season.
There you go. And yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens, because right now, I mean, everything's been on decline. Now we're kind of, it looks like we're hitting that resistance level. You know, what was it 55, 53 on Bitcoin? We're kind of in that range now. Is that right?
52.8 is what I'm waiting for. It might 52. Be like 53, depends on how it moves. But, you know, I'm eyeballing that region.
Gotcha.
And unless it breaks back above the MA100, which in order to do that, it would need to get above 59.7K, and it would need to close over that. If it does that, then the blue scenario is still in play, right? We could see it pull back up to the 62.8, do a little pullback to 60.8, and then go back up to 70.5, right? So like that's still a potential scenario that's in play, right? The purpose of reading charts is not to know beyond a shadow of a doubt where it's going to go, but to figure out what are the likely movements that will happen, and then make a trade plan for each of those. That way, as it's playing out, you know what to do already, instead of having to be like, oh my God, it just fell 12%. Do I buy or do I sell everything in a panic? And but because you already looked at it and you've got a plan and you see, okay, I knew it was going to pull back like this. This is the level that I was waiting for. I'm a buy, right?
Okay, so even if it comes down, hits that point, and it maybe it stagnates, whatever, and that was your buy point. If it drops a little bit further, beyond that, you should have a plan for that to go to that next degree. Now, I've seen a lot of traders say, I'm going to do my first buy, my second buy, my third buy, and then they're like 3 layers selling. Do you run the same kind of system on that?
Yeah, I split it up, right? So like we've talked about before with DCA, if I say, okay, I want to spend, I want to put $3,000 into Bitcoin, right? I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say, what movements could it be making over the next month, the next 2 months, right? And then I'm going to split that up into a whole bunch of like $200 buys, right? Less than 10%. And I'm going to put it in at different levels, right? And you can do something like that even with leverage trading, right? Where if you factor in, okay, I want to put a maximum of $200 leverage 20x into this trade, right? You would split it. You'd say, okay, I see these levels. I see that it could come to here and bounce, or it could fall through that, come to here, and then bounce. A lot of people gets to that level, they throw their trade in, right? That $200 leverage 20x. What you should be doing is taking like a third of it, putting it in your first position. And then when or if it comes down to the next level, you put the rest in, like the 2/3 or whatnot. You put a larger amount in if it comes down lower, but you're only putting in a portion of what you want to put in, right?
Okay.
That way, if it starts its drawdown, you've got the rest ready to deploy when it's done, right? Instead of just sitting there randomly throwing buys in like darts in the dark, hoping that you catch the falling knife by the handle, which is what a lot of people do due to lack of experience and due to emotions running rampant, right? They're like, oh, it dropped 8%. This is a good time to buy. I'm going to put my buy in. Oh, it dropped another 4%. This is a good time to buy. I'm going to put my buy in. And then 28% later, they're like, I'm out of money.
It's all gone. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thanks for playing. See you next time. Come again.
Exactly. And, make no mistake, even trading runs by the same concept as the people who are making the wins. Well, they're taking your losses. So, the money game is played everywhere. And that's where we really wanted to bring this to you. But there's some bad actors and some huge warning signs that we're starting to see again. And we want to make sure you're aware of those. So, Cyril, if you had to pick the top 3 warning signs of any DeFi project, what would they be?
Too much importance on professionalism. Believe it or not, if they are doing their damnedest to appear as professional as possible, guys, we're in DeFi. You might want to be here and play business, but if you're here doing it in DeFi and it's not a registered company and it's not following the appropriate regulatory requirements, then why are you even pretending, right? 9.9 times out of 10, it's because they're trying to build trust, right? They're the doxed ex-Fortune 500 company developer, or I worked at this multi-million-dollar company, or, blah, 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 right?
Right.
It's to build that trust so that it's easier to sucker you in, right? The very first DeFi project I ever wound up in was a protocol like that. The guy running it was fully doxed. I knew his name, Stephen Banner. I'll say it. I don't care. And he worked for a company that was in the Fortune 500. He wound up getting fired from that job because of what he was doing in the DeFi space. So small justices, but they built, looking back, what was ultimately the most efficient money laundering system that I'd ever seen in DeFi. And like they did everything, dude, from drain money to wire fraud, like by accepting checks that somebody mailed in to OTC buy the tokens from them. They were holding the bulk of the supply of all 4 tokens that they had in their ecosystem. One was only one of them was actually paired to Ethereum. The rest were all paired to each other at different ratios to give them different values. And so the more complex it is and the more professional they're trying to appear, the more likely it is that they're actually obfuscating the way that they're taking your money, right? So that's a great warning sign. If they have a bunch of money and they're not actually giving any action plan on how they're going to use that to benefit the people who already bought the token, right? That is another big warning sign. And then a third warning sign, is the protocol very similar to another one that either they or somebody else has put out there? And are they trying to say that we're going to disrupt this multi-billion-dollar industry? The more outlandish the claim, the more bullshit it is. I had a guy come to me the other day. He wanted me to switch over to secure comms because he wanted to tell me about something. And then he sits there and he tells me about it. And he's like, dude, like the AI that they've developed for this is off the charts, absolutely crazy. They straight up like are being threatened by companies like Vanguard because the profits that it's producing is putting their money at risk. And 3 of his co-founders got killed for it. But you know, yada yada yada. But it's okay because now he's protected by Larry Fink, and their AI tech is supposed to replace Vanguard in the next 3 years. And I'm just like, bro, do you hear yourself? Because like he wasn't part of the project. He was just trying to tell me about it because he had fallen for it.
Right.
And I'm like, look, back up, dude. Do you really think Larry Fink gives a flying crap about some DeFi project's AI algorithm? No.
Not even a little bit.
So those are the 3 things I'd watch out for.
Okay. And yeah, I agree with all those. I mean, yeah, I've seen it time and time again. And, keep in mind, guys, one way they get you is they go with the concept of a, quote, cult following. They really try to make you feel like you're special, like you're one of a kind, and you have to be part of this community to be in the in crowd. And
family.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here I'm family because I can say pretty much anything and do anything. And, in the down home crypto community, the whole concept is down home with your family and stuff. But at the same time, we have the right to say, oh, hell no, I ain't going to do that. Or no, I disagree. I think you're wrong. And so that's one thing. If they start limiting what you can say, what you can do, what you should do, they start limiting your text, your chat, things. That's a big red flag. They don't want the truth out there. We talked about this on the last Freaky Friday. If you guys missed it, man, you should go check it out. That was a great show. Yeah, we had a... So I was like, oh, damn. Yeah, it got crazy there. It did. But that's one. They start going to that cult following aspect. And it's really easy to get pulled in because they give you outlandish numbers. They give you all these claims. They give you that professionalism. It's like, oh, man, this is great. I get to be part of one of the cool kids. I got to say, I'm honestly very proud to be able to sit here in my studio in an ugly shirt that says, warning, do not touch. With you, sir, where you're sitting in a sweatshirt. We're probably some of the most common people on the planet, yet we're trying to break the system because we don't want you to invest in those DeFi projects. Not that we don't want you to get ahead. We do, but we want you to do it in the right ways. So, if they show up in a business suit and tie and things like that, man, right off the bat, I'm scared. That makes me nervous.
And excuse me, this is an athletic hoodie.
Oh,
not a sweatshirt.
My bad.
My
bad.
Like, if the bulk of their attention is going towards putting on airs, that's all they've got, right? It's kind of like the saying, the people selling the courses is because they can't actually trade, right? So they need to sell you the courses It's the same principle. If they've got to tell you they're professional, if they've got to tell you that they know their shit and give you reasons why, then chances are they don't, right? So
Exactly. That's why we always say, don't listen to us. No, please don't. Don't listen to me. Don't even listen to that guy. I don't even listen to that guy. Because we want you to make your own decisions. We want you to have the knowledge, the experience, and the comfortability to read through a project and read through a white paper. And if it starts getting very complicated and you're like, wait, okay, A goes to C to F to Q unless it's a Tuesday, then you go to 3. Yeah, you start doing that stuff, like, forget it. Just throw it away and walk away. Because odds are, if it's that complicated that you can't follow it, get out of it. It's probably not legit. Or it's just guaranteed to fail.
I agree. And now, before we wrap up the season finale of this episode, I would like to take a little bit of time to consider mindset, right? And some growth homework for all of you before you come back. And it's something that I want you guys to spend a little bit of time putting some thought into. Why are we here? Why are we in the space? Why are we in crypto? And I want to challenge you, and I'm going to make a statement. And I would like you to spend some time with introspection to determine whether or not this rings true in your life. So, a big part of the reason why everyone who's here in crypto winds up here in the first place, whether they want to admit it or not, is that they want to believe they have a measure of control with none of the responsibility. A shot to make it out of their current situation, but if it all goes wrong, well, that's somebody else's fault. But deep down, we're all afraid of failing and it being our fault that we failed, right? But that's training. You're trained to be afraid of failure. That fear of failure prevents you from actually taking the steps to captain your future. The future is going to happen whether you want it to or not, right? And despite what the world tries to tell you, that future is up to you to determine. All possible futures exist, and you need to bring the one that you want towards you by taking the steps necessary towards it. So worrying about failures or how things might turn out with something that hasn't even happened yet is pointless. The future is just pure potential, right? Quantum mechanics. The future you're worried about will happen, right? It also won't. It's your choice which one you're going to observe based on the action steps that you take right now. You don't exist a second ago. You don't exist a second from now. You can't change a decision that you made, and you can't make a decision until it's time to do so. Pull yourself out of the past, pick the future you want, and walk towards it. Do some self-introspection. See if you're here because you're chasing a lottery ticket because you want your life to change, but you don't want the risk of failing. And if that's the case, I would like you to separate yourself from society's expectations, because society is just a boundary set of rules, right, that we've all agreed to play by. That is society. Culture is what happens when you take those set of rules away and allow people to be people, to create, to follow their passions, to inspire. Are you participating in society, or are you creating culture, right? Like, society is geared to make you afraid of failure. It is designed to give you a rule set to follow, to keep you where the status quo is, right? To keep you as a worker, to keep you punching your time clock until the day you die, hoping you have enough money left to retire. Is that even what you want? Or is that just what the American dream, or whatever dream society has been pushing, seems appealing? Well, the problem is the world doesn't support dreams like that anymore unless you somehow get lucky and make tons of money, right? Yeah. Yeah, figure out what you want, figure out what truly actually matters to you, and then take those steps in the now that work you towards that. The only thing that's going to prevent you from reaching what you want is if you stop taking the steps, and if you decide you're afraid of failure, and so you stop trying after you fail a couple of times. There is no good or bad situations or circumstances. There is only cause and effect. The effect that you're experiencing is a direct result of the things that you're doing. If you don't like the effect, change the cause, right? You might fail a couple of times figuring out the right cause to get the effect you want. How do you think they figured out, oh, if I mix milk, water, and starchy, like hard pasta together and boil it and then throw in some cheese, I get mac and cheese? You think there wasn't trial and error and failure involved with that? There's going to be. Failure is an area of opportunity for growth, right? Go fail. Learn from it. Because I had a guy today, we were talking about quantum field theory and talking about stuff like this, and he says, you have a lot of wisdom. And I said to him, do you know what wisdom comes from? Wisdom comes from good decisions, comes from experience. Experience comes from good decisions. Good decisions come from failure. Failure comes from bad decisions. You cannot have one without the other. You want to go plant an acorn outside and wake up tomorrow and have it be an oak tree? You know that's not going to happen. I know that's not going to happen. Why are you trying to skip the stages of growth?
Trying to take the easy way out. And I agree entirely, Cyril. And, it's just like John said earlier, he tried to get in some DeFi projects and they kept rucking. They kept crashing. You know what? So did I. And I used to teach classes here at home. Every Saturday night, I would make the family sit down and we would go through the white papers, the tokenomics, all that. And we would learn about this. And what would happen 3 months, 6 months later? Project would die. I didn't know any better at the time. This was a couple years back. But now that I know that, I take that and I can be wise about my actions today. But I had to go through those mistakes. I had to lose that money. I had to take it the hard way. And I have many times. And people look at me, it's like, hey, Serenity, how are you still excited about crypto? I mean, I know what kind of money you've lost, what kind of stupid things you've done. It's like, yeah, I have. And you know what? Some things I feel foolish about. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have promoted that one. My bad. But at the same time, that's how I learned. And so I have to take those licks and I have to say, hey, guess what? I got to fail. That is awesome because I learned from it. Now, if I didn't learn from it, then I'm just stupid. But if I learn from it, I'm wise. Now I'm experienced. Now I can take that experience and I can create the vision and the goal and the dream that I want to create. Not because they said so or they said so, but because I want to. And that takes true courage. And I challenge every one of you to take Cyril's homework to heart because it really does make a difference in every aspect of your life, not just investing. It makes a difference of how you deal with your children, how you deal with your spouse, your loved ones, your job, everything about life. You start asking yourself the simple question like, why am I here? That's a great question. Why do I go to that job every day that I hate? That's a good question. Why don't you? The simple belief that I have is that everybody has one innate power. That's the power of choice. You can't control a lot of times what happens to you. You can't control the weather. Sometimes you can't even control your emotions. I mean, they just pop up sometimes because the song plays. You can choose how you're going to react to that. So, take Cyril's homework assignment. And then I challenge each of you to choose where you want to be tomorrow and start working towards that path. That's what's going to make your life a place you're proud to be.
Not where you want to be tomorrow, but where you want to be down the road, right?
Yeah.
Because again, can't skip growth, but
right.
You do have to take it one day at a time. So
true. I think of tomorrow as the long term. So sorry, I didn't paraphrase that. Yes, tomorrow could be a year, 10 years. In the cosmic law, tomorrow is like a million years. So who knows?
Yeah,
but the big thing is you've got to act now to make that future you want.
My stepmom is getting up there. Don't tell her I said that. But she actually went back to school to become, in the medical field. And, so many people are like, well, I don't want to go do this or go do that, even though it's something I want to do, because there's going to be a lot of time between here and there. The time's going to pass anyway, right? Rose, don't do that. But I forgot Rose was listening.
You're in trouble.
The time is going to pass anyway, right? So you need to take those steps to get you where you want to be, instead of just sitting there. Like, do you want to be in the same spot 10 years from now, or do you want to be somewhere different? If you want to be somewhere different, accept the fact it's going to take time. Accept the fact it might take 5 years, 10 years. There's a reason why they call it 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, and the 10-year plan, right? You're supposed to plan ahead. But in today's society, where everyone's attention span is getting absolutely cut, right? Thanks to buildup of microplastics in the brain. That is actually why. There's a study that came out recently about that. And it's reducing our ability to have longer term attention spans. So it can be tough to commit to a longer term game plan. But if you're not doing that, then are you actually growing? Are you actually taking the steps? Because if you don't have that goal in mind, what are you working towards? Or are you just status quo?
Exactly. And Barry says, Slave bots to work for us before the cybernetic takeover. Have to use AI now before they take us over. Future AI wars. I was forced to write this.
I'm not going to comment on that because I believe in Roko's basilisk, and I'm not trying to get myself, thrown into an AI encampment later. So,
fair enough. Okay. So, hey, who knows? That might be tomorrow's Freaky Friday. You never know what happens. So, Cyril, I think this has been a great show, and I want to say thank you to everybody who's tuned in through the entire season. Now, if you're just tuning in now and you don't know some of the things or you're still confused, all of these are over on the YouTube channel and they're all in order. You can watch this entire journey over the last year where we started from the most basics all the way up to the advanced trading, everything in between, and even our life lessons we've done along the way. Because, man, I've made plenty of mistakes, even right here on the show. And you know what? I'm proud to do so. I think that's great. And I think that takes courage, takes guts, but it also takes that desire to change. Because if you don't, then yeah, it's like Barry said, we exist to be sheep to feed upon. Because if you're not growing, if you're not evolving, that's exactly what you are as a sheep. So time to step up, stop existing, and start living.
Yep, and I look forward to touching base with all of you and seeing how you've been applying that homework to your life when we reconvene for season 2. And thank you everybody for joining us on this journey. I will still be hopping into Freaky Fridays and stuff like that here with Serenity, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for tuning and joining us. Make sure to join the Down Home Crypto Discord, because that's where you're going to find all the cool kids and so many more. If you have questions, hop in there. We will help you any way we possibly can. So I want to thank you all for making this such an amazing journey, and we will catch y'all next season. Night, guys.
See ya.